The big dive. I know that sucked for the music to run out, but I had to let it roll for the full dive. There's another one coming up too. I think I got one clean, more clean after that. That was 2023. That was a long time ago. That was when I was drone tech for at Monster Jam in Tennessee. That was just some like Hilton in Tennessee. Here comes the big one. Here comes the cleanest. Oh no, that ain't it. Yeah, that was just whatever hotel I was getting put up at. Oh, you know what? That was the big dive with the walk snail rig. So I did it much cleaner with an analog rig. I'm gonna let this footage play over here, and then I'll give you guys the big dive with the analog rig. This is when that was when I decided to, unfortunately after that is when I decided to move a lot of my tiny whoops to props in, because I wasn't happy with the dive performance. It kept winding up. You could see on that dive I was 0 throttle, but it pushed me all the way across that opening, and then I ended up flying over by those tables. There wasn't anything I could do. Now that I've moved all my rigs to props in, I think they dive better than that. I got to go to a spot, like, I mean, that spot was pretty unique, right? It was like a 15-story dive, but it wasn't really wide, so you could totally see that it was ramping up and moving forward. Those spots are not all over the place, so I got to find another spot like that to really see if the props in has helped. What I can say is that on Cinewhoops, which are a similar aerodynamic situation to tiny whoops, right? Ducts around the props. Props in helps a ton with dropping elevation. And it specifically helps with that exact problem there, where when you're 0 throttle and diving, there's turbulence, and the motors ramp up to try to beat that turbulence. And so I assume that it stands to reason that tiny whoops will dive better props in. I haven't had any other performance issues when I've moved them from props out to props in. The main philosophy with props out is that on a non-ducted rig, the propellers are spinning out like this, so if you hit a stick, the propeller is going to sweep the stick outwards. Well, when you have a guard around the duct and you hit a stick, it hits the guard. It never hits the prop, right? And so props in versus props out for tiny whoops, or for any guarded rigs, it should be whatever performs better. In ye olden days of tiny whoops, when they didn't have good powertrains, props in, a lot of us went props out because the outside rear motor would run out of juice and it would stall out if you were yawing and rolling in the same direction. But now that we have powertrains that make good power, that doesn't matter. Hello, friends. My name's Aaron Ciotti. Everybody calls me Ciotti. Welcome to the show. I'm glad you're here. It is Monday Q&A. We are also going to get the... Where the hell is it? I left it over there. Hold on. Hold on. Wait. Just wait. Hold up. Hey. We are going to get the 1S DJi 04 Lite 65mm build started. We are going with the new Tiny Whoop 0702 36,000 kV Fireflies with the unslippable motor shaft and bell setup. Newbie Drone Cockroach V3 frame, because it's my favorite frame, but also because it's got the little hooks on the... These hooks are technically on the back of the frame, but for... this is going to be a cinematic Tiny Whoop. And a guy by the name of... that goes by Timmons on my Discord and here on YouTube, he designed a really, really, really cool camera mount that we lovingly call the Batwing, for immature reasons. And it uses these little hooks to mount it. And then you've got the camera all the way up front with no ducts in view. You've also got the camera as low as possible. I'm holding this upside down because there are screws in the holes, and I don't want them to fall out. And so Crom, another fella on our Discord and here on YouTube, he took that Batwing mount and remixed it to work with the 04. And I was going to try to print one out before the live stream, but I forgot that I need to dry the TPU out. So if you're wearing headphones and you hear a little hum, that's the TPU dryer back there. I'm supposed to let it run for 4 to 6 hours. So hopefully in the middle of the night I will figure out how to 3D print. I've never actually used like the slicer software or anything like that, so I'll go on YouTube and type in how do I use the Bamboo slicer software, and a video will come up and I'll watch it and I'll click buttons, and I'm sure it won't work, and then I'll get angry and smash everything in sight and give up and quit FPV forever. See you guys later. Bye! In the chat, Matthew Wegner was first. Doubles FPV was next. Frank Nicholas, Mike K, Scotty Scott, Cocaine Kid, Crownut FPV, Kennedy Custom, Islander FPV, Mike K again, Shoot FPV, Mick Mucus, Frosty, Render, Doubles FPV, Morton Upshot, Falcon Wright, SOS Death Pilot, Tony Morgan, B-Man, Render, Falcon Wright, BMF Spade, Danzel the Terrible, Wit, Notice, Render, Michael Jones, Skull 901, Everyday with Bruno, B-Man, Himox, Denzel the Terrible, McMucus, Doubles FPV, Cronut, Dronesen, Cowboy with a Camera, Morton Upshot, who else is here? Jacob the Ghost, repeats, CMYK is in the house, Kazuma, YouTube scrolled me to the bottom and I'd lost my place, so I'm going to miss people. Tito Bones, Cowboy with a Camera, B-Man, I'm sure I'm missing people. Sucks to be you. Just type CiottiFPV and then a question that is somewhat sensible, and I'll give you a shout out. JT MacGyver says it's a bamboo. Slap it on there and hit print. Yeah, I have a feeling that I'll be able to just spend 5 minutes and be all set to go from what I've read. But it's me, so 5 minutes will turn into 5 hours. If you want to talk to me directly in the chat, just type CiottiFPV, or if you want to talk to me and support the insanity that is trying to do FPV as a full-time job, do a super chat or do a PayPal. If you do a PayPal, which is linked over on CiottiFPV.com, tag me in the chat, say CiottiFPV, check your PayPal, because you deserve a shout-out for supporting me. I really appreciate it. Also, over on the website, there's lots of other ways that you can support me. Patreon is the best way. Jump onto my Patreon. It's like $3 a month. It's $5 a month if you want to get on monthly giveaways. You could win 50, 60, 70 bucks worth of stuff. There's higher tiers if you want to support me a little bit more. I would love it. The more support I get, the more stuff I can test, the more stuff I can keep you from wasting your money on, right? Join my Patreon, set it up to renew every month. If you think you're a patron, you might not be, because for some reason they keep switching people from monthly to 1 month. So do me a favor and check it the next time you have a second. Make sure you're on my Patreon. Another way you can check it is you can go over to my Discord and go into like general nonsense and just type a message and see what color your name is. If you're a patron, your name will be either purple or red. If your name is not purple or red, Patreon has kicked you off. So check that if you don't mind. If you're new, get a recurring Patreon going. This is what I'm doing. I'll save you some money. I'll teach you how to build stuff in a way that it doesn't explode, with the right parts so that it performs really well, and you'll have a better life. That's a bit of a stretch, but you know. Etsy has a whole bunch of fun stuff. The pin vices, then the drill bits are back in stock. There's also a custom tiny whoop on there, and lots of other fun stuff. Fiverr, you can work one-on-one with me. I've been doing this for almost 9 years. I've been paying a lot of attention. 5-inch rigs, Cinewhoops, 3-inch micro brushless, tiny whoops, everything other than like long range, basically. I can help you quite a bit. Stop getting your information from Facebook groups and Reddit, for God's sake. More than 50% of the info in those two places is dead wrong. It's just a shit show. Get your info from people that actually know what they're talking about. Like me and Joshua and other folks that have actually been around for a while, and that you can, you know, check up on us and make sure that we haven't been in FPV for 20 minutes and we're all of a sudden talking like we're the authority on everything all over the internet. Teespring has some fun apparel that you can get to show the love. There's the PayPal link right there. One of our members has created this website with live stream transcripts. So like if you know that you remember me saying something but you don't remember what it was, you can go to the individual live streams here and search the transcript. So if you remember on this live stream me saying like balls to all of y'all, you can just do a quick Control or Command F, and then you can search for it up here, and you can see that apparently on this live stream I didn't say it. Although maybe there's an nope. I did not say that on this live stream. That's a shame. But yeah, there you go. Lots of ways that you can find the good answers to your questions. And then look at all these affiliate links, yo. Change all your bookmarks to affiliate links. You have to hit the affiliate links over and over and over and over again. So just hitting them once doesn't work. If you don't use bookmarks and you're like me, you just type like AMA when you want to go to Amazon, type the beginning of these words and it'll trigger your browser to say like, hey, you want to go to www.amazon.com? Off on the right of the suggestion, it depends on the browser, but you can remove your suggestions. And so do this for like one of these at a time, every live stream or whatever. So type like BETA for beta FPV and then remove your suggestion for beta FPV and then just come here and click my or someone else's affiliate link a few times in a row, and that'll tell your browser, yo, every single time you type BETA for beta FPV, actually go to this person's affiliate link and support them so that they can make more stuff that you watch for free on YouTube. How's that sound? Help us help you. If you don't use my affiliate links, use someone else's. That's how you keep your YouTube filled up with good content, my friends. All of us that are doing this full time greatly appreciate it, because boy is it hard. Mick Bucas says, hi CiottiFPV, that's definitely top 3 favorite videos you've done along with the tower dive. Thank you, dude. I need to edit that. The tower dive I have an almost finished edit of. I need to finish that one up, and then I need to do an edit with this one. This was wild. I didn't let the footage keep playing. There is a dive of me doing it. It's probably the last file. Let me see real quick. It's probably the last file of me flying it analog. Let's see real quick here. Or let's see real slow, because for some reason this 2-year-old computer is just a pile of shit. Drunzen says, good evening, sir. Thrash FPV says, why does my whoop drop out of the air rolling right almost every time, but rolling left is fine? Could a cracked frame on a motor strut cause this? I don't have another frame yet. Any number of things could cause that. Drop out of the air rolling right. So when you roll right, the left motors accelerate and the right motors break down as low as they can without stalling. Wow, it took that long for a 254 megabyte file to load. That is extraordinarily awful. Yeah, so my guess is going to be that something is going on the left side. It might not be, but it could be a bad motor. So one of the things you can do is take the left side motors and swap them with the right side motors and see if the behavior stays or if it reverses. That's going to be what I mean. If you're asking me if you have a cracked duct, you know, that's pretty insane. Like, look at it and see if you have a cracked duct, whatever. Yeah, if you don't, swap the motors left side to right side, see if the problem chases or stays the same. If the problem stays, then you potentially have an ESC FET that's letting go. If the problem moves across, then you've probably got a motor that's letting go. You've isolated it to one of 2 motors, so then just take crisscross motors. Take like motor 1 and motor 4 and swap those and see if the problem goes back to the other side, right? This is how you troubleshoot. So there you go. Cronut says, hey, what's up? What's your thoughts on the Huma 2004? I think that's there you go. See, even the analog rigs are winding up and I'm having to navigate down. That drives me insane. I hate when rigs won't stay quiet during dives. It's super, super, super annoying. I think I might have gotten it a little bit cleaner this time. Let's see. This was so long ago, I don't remember anything about these builds. Yeah, so... Oh, great. It's a 640 by 480 file, but this incredibly fast computer just can't handle it. No, that one was not cleaner. Yeah, I was having to line the dive up all the way in the corner to give myself enough room for the damn thing to ramp up and drive forward. Huma 2004, I'm pretty sure, is the sub 250 box frame 2-inch prop 04 carrying rig. I don't really understand it. If you're gonna build something that's sub 250 with a setup like that, you can go with a 2.5-inch prop. Going with a 2-inch prop is just silly. You get less efficiency, you save practically no weight, and it's much louder, and it's a much more shrill sound that it makes. So I don't really understand that thing. It strikes me as a one of these like hype train kind of all aboard. Look, it's the smallest possible 04 carrying box frame. Right? And then it's just like, wow, I want the smallest possible thing. But then it's like the same thing on a 2.5 inch prop would do everything better, and it would be a 1/2 inch bigger. And you're not going to miss a gap by a 1/2 inch. And to be honest, the 2.5 inch rig is going to fly better. And so you're going to have a better time. You're going to have a better chance of hitting that gap because it's going to fly a lot better. So I would stay away from that thing. But you do you, my friends. You do you. B-Man says, didn't know you joined the 3D print world. Yeah, during the 12 hours of Christmas stream, I finally plugged in the Bamboo Lab A1 Mini that I won at Rampage for the flight edit, the micro flight edit. But I didn't use the slicer or anything. Built into the Bamboo Lab little menu thing is a little benchy. And so I just used their included, I don't even know what it is, PLA maybe? And I printed out a benchy really fast during the live stream. And I screamed and yelled and said things like, I don't know why you guys all bitch and moan about 3D printing so much. This seems pretty easy. And like 80 people unsubscribed because, it's a dick thing to say. Nobody unsubscribed, but I'm sure I made someone upset, which was the goal. And I haven't turned it on since. It's just been sitting back there ever since. I haven't needed to print anything. I don't need to print. It's been sitting there because I haven't needed to print anything. Now I do. I now need to print this mount for this 65mm 1S04 build. And so now I'm going to figure it out. I have zero interest, and I'm specifically stopping myself from like falling down the 3D printing rabbit hole and spending 50 hours on Thingiverse looking at every single possible thing in this house that could be 3D printed that would make my life 0.01% better. Because really, like, you don't need to have a little 3D printed clip for the remote control for your fan on the wall. Just put the remote on the coffee table like a normal human being. I don't need to 3D print holsters for my fucking Milwaukee screwdriver to sit on the goddamn tool bench. Just put it in a bag, you freak. I don't know, like, most people 3D print, and I just attack them with reckless abandon for no reason. Danzilla Terrible says, I will be up late and off access on the West Coast. We can help you with Bamboo Studio. Thanks, guys. Makes no sense. Stuart Guzman with a $4.99 super chat. Thank you, brother. No comment other than a little pair, guys, that says, how's it going? Thank you, Stuart. Very cool of you, my friend. I'm scrolling back up because YouTube did this stupid thing where they scroll me to the bottom for absolutely no reason every so often. Thrash FPV says, TPU is pretty easy to print. Just run it slow, 30 millimeters per second or so. I had a, let's see if I can find it. There's a profile. So what is this? Bamboo Lab TPU FPV profile. Let's see how good Google is. I think this is it. Printables? Yeah. So this is apparently a download. There we go. Where's it at? Download. This is apparently a tuned profile for SaneSmart TPU 95A on Bamboo printers. So I think I can just load this in. I'll see. And also, Mads Tech has some settings. He did an awesome review on the Mads Tech Bamboo A1 Mini. He did a really good review on the A1 Mini, and he has some settings. One of these two videos, he's got some specific settings for it. So I was gonna load that profile and then just try that profile first, and then if that didn't print perfectly, check out his settings, because he obviously knows what's what. So yeah, tonight should be only mildly infuriating. Skessic says, hi, Mom. Tito Bones says, motor recommendations 3-inch 2S. Zeus 5 AIO tri-blade props non-ducted. So, I don't know if I would do... Well, what's Zeus 5? I don't know what Zeus 5 is. Oh God, that's an HDLRC AIO. All right, my first recommendation is going to be to start praying now to whatever god that you worship, because HDLRC electronics are a hot goddamn mess. A 3-inch propeller on 2S is going to be a little tough. I'm going to make an assumption that this is some sort of a toothpick that you're building here. If it's not, then you need to get it off a 2S, and you need to get up to bare minimum 3S, if not 4S, for 3-inch propellers, especially tri-blades. There are some really lightweight tri-blades in 3-inch if you're building a toothpick. But really, with only running at 2S, you're going to want to drop down to a biblade. You're going to want a really lightweight propeller to get good flight characteristics out of something like that. And so that's a lot of assumptions. Motors are going to be kind of all over the place. With 3-inch props, you're going to want a motor anywhere from like 1804 on the really big size all the way down to like 1204. And the size of the motor is going to depend upon the build, the all-up weight, how much power you want, how much efficiency you want, what kind of flight characteristics you're looking for. So yeah, it's impossible. It's not impossible for me. It's irresponsible of me to just randomly kind of take a guess and just be like, 1204 is the perfect motor for you. Because it probably isn't, because there's about 1,000 different styles of build that you can do with those specs that you're talking about. And the motor selection is very, very important on all of those. This is one of the for the record, this is one of the main reasons that more than 50% of the info that you get from Facebook groups and Reddit is completely wrong, because people ask the wrong questions, and they ask a question with not nearly enough information, but then the people answering the questions, they don't ask for the right info either. They just randomly suggest something that they've built in the past that didn't catch on fire. Most people answering these questions have no idea what a good flying rig kind of flies like, because they just haven't really been around long enough. One of the things that happens in FPV is that once you've been around long enough, you kind of get tired of answering the same 40 questions over and over and over again on Facebook groups and Reddit, and you get the hell out of there because it's just infuriating. And for me, I get so upset by the unbelievable amount of bad info on there, because it wastes people a lot of money, and you can get hurt. Like a 5-inch rig with like dead ass wrong information, like that'll put you in the fucking hospital. So it's yeah. But if you're building a toothpick, if you're gonna keep it unbelievably lightweight, if you're gonna run the lightest possible tri-blade that you can find, a 1204 would probably be the way to go. If you're gonna stay with 2S, I don't know if I would go any bigger than a 1204. 1204 is the same stator volume as a 1303, so a 1303 would also kind of work. But yeah, if you have not bought that AIO yet, don't buy it. Don't buy any HDLRC electronics. They are awful. Don't buy anything HDLRC as far as I'm concerned. They are consistently, they make consistently bad stuff. It's really incredible. I've not seen a company that is able to be so consistently bad. It's you know, if you're going to be bad, you might as well be the worst, I guess, right? If you're not going to be the best, you might as well be the worst. Not everything they make is terrible, but boy, a lot of the stuff they make is brutal. And it's been like that for over 8 years now. Render says, I use the bamboo TPU preset. The generic preset is slower, and push the speed slider down to silent, 50%, and it prints well like 95% of the time. If the TPU is dry, I hate tuning film. It's very cool. Hey, does anybody know... Here's how dumb I am when it comes to 3D printing. How do I get the how do I get this filament out? How do I get it out of there? I tried pulling on it, and it won't come out. It's like stuck in the thing. I bet you I have to hit some buttons on the screen and that say like unload filament and load new filament. Right? There's like a little lever on the side of the print head thing. I tried holding that in and then pulling it, but it wouldn't work. I assume that it's all in the fucking gears, right? SOS Death Pilot says, I see you got your stuff in like mine. I have the Meteor 75, but I have 0702 19,800 kV, I think, but they put on the 65. I hope you don't have a Meteor 75 on 0702s. That's not going to be good. I'm not really sure what your question is, though, brother. Ask that question in a different way. Pretend like I'm 8 years old, and maybe I'll be able to understand it, because I can't figure out what you're asking. Morton Upshot says, use your affiliate link at your own store and keep reselling everything. You will have so much money you won't know where to spend it. Spend it all at your own store using affiliate links. I have very recently, I have finally begun to remember to use my own affiliate links. Although, you know what? I take that back. I've replaced. I did remember to use it. I did a Get FPV order for this, and I didn't go to my website to click on the Get FPV link, but I've removed all of my suggestions for all of these different websites. So when I type, let's see, yep, when I type get, it suggests my affiliate link. My affiliate link goes to a Crossfire Nano for whatever reason. So I did remember to use my own affiliate link. Frank Nicholas says, M1 Mac Mini was released November 2020. Good God, is it that old? I buy stuff like late. Wow. M1 2020. There's no way I've had this thing for 5 years. No way. Yeah, no, because I haven't been streaming for 5 years. And I bought this computer halfway through streaming. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I got it 2 years ago. It was not like it was not newest and best. It was like cheapest and oldest when I got it. Morton Upshot says, Morton Upshot making economics great again. Skull 901 says, my Mobula 8 2S analog, when I plug in the battery, it shows low voltage. When I replug the battery, it shows the correct voltage. What is wrong? Your maximum voltage setting in King Kong Bundy is incorrect. I'm going to show you. It thinks it's a 3S battery. It thinks it's a dead 3S battery is what's happening. You got to go into the battery tab in Betaflight and change the maximum cell voltage, bump the maximum cell voltage up like 0.1. It'll probably be at 3.4 right now. You want to bump it up to 3.5. I would love to show you, but for some reason Betaflight takes 18 days and nights to launch. It's been like this for the last year or so. Drunzen says, I would hate to be the guy who has to change one of those light bulbs in the hotel. Power and battery, and then maximum cell voltage. It's actually probably at 4.3. Move it all the way up to 4.5. There's no reason for it not to be at 4.5. And remember to click save. And you will never have that problem again. That's a super common, annoying little thing. Oh, shitballs. Cronut with a 99-cent super chat, but he retracted the message. Thank you, dude. Oh, balls. Hold on. By the way, the flight footage from the intro that looked good was the Walk Snail Lite 1S 65mm build on 0702. God only knows the KV. Maybe 32,000, maybe 36,000, maybe 40,000. Hold on. Where's the... Oh, there we go. Cole Power says, it wasn't that hard to get up here. You just take the elevator. Guy standing on the shoulders of giants who spent 0 time building the elevator. Denzel the Terrible says, just use the default profile in Bamboo. Don't get into external profiles just yet. Thrash FPV says, now you've triggered me. Curtis Hayes says, what output voltage would you use to power an 04 Lite when using this Maytech BEC 12S? 6 to 60 volts out. What? What output voltage would you use to power 04 Lite? Just use like 2S. Just use like 8 volts. You'll be fine. Denzel says, don't tune unless you have to, / know what you're doing, like Betaflight. All right. Drubik says, wet filament is best, LOL. Matthew Wegner says, printing mementos is great, glow-in-the-dark planet coasters imprinted with a date for a celestial themed dinner, whiteboard, marker cup for small gym, made member name, text, etc. No! No! I don't have time to get all into 3D printing, and it's the kind of thing that I would get way too into. Himok says, Antlight or CO3 and why? Antlight, in my opinion, is one of the worst of the little tiny whoop cameras. CO3 is the best. But don't take my word for it. Make up your own mind. Go to my channel here. Click the little magnifying glass to search on just my channel and search for camera comparison. Maybe I spelled that right. There you go. Mega Tiny Whoop 8 camera comparison, and then Tiny Whoop camera comparison in these two videos. I think in both of these videos, you'll be able to compare those two cameras along with 6 others. And so you can make up your own mind. If you are a patron, on my Patreon is a Google Drive link to the images from that camera testing. I gotta tell you, Patreon makes it difficult for me to look at my own goddamn Patreon page. Like, I just want to... just let me... Where are the... I just want to... the things. I just want to search posts. Nope. Search posts. On January 2nd. January 2nd. Camera testing round 2. And then there's a Google Drive link there, which will have all of the images. So you can look at... and they're all titled so that you'll see. Just go do it. The CO3 is the best, though. The only problem with the CO3 is that, like, it's a weird shape. It's taller than it is wide, so it's a pain in the ass to find Look at it before it. Keith Whitehead says the house that I grew up on was Whitehead Road. No shit. What are good rates for racing a 65mm Whoop indoors tight track? The same rates that you have on all of your other stuff. You should absolutely not have different rates on different quads. Take some time to figure out what rates are perfect for you, and then that's your rates. That's it. Don't listen to anyone else. Don't use anyone else's rates. Rates are completely subjective to every single person. You should never, ever, ever, ever use someone else's rates. Your brain, your builds, everything is completely unique for you. And so you need to have your own set of rates. I did a live stream really diving pretty deep into rates, but the long and short of it is that you should not have different rates on different builds. You should not use different rates for inside versus outside. How do rates work? 1 month ago. So this'll explain like how the look. I'm wearing the same shirt. Look at me. I haven't washed it since then. I'll bet. Nope, definitely haven't. Yeah, this'll explain how the rates work. And in the process of doing that, I also talk about how you should test them. Basically, you're going to go up a little bit. You're going to fly, see if you like it. You're going to go down a bunch. You're going to fly, you see if you like it. Whichever one you like better, you're going to go in between. You're going to see if you like that more, and that's it. You do you got 3 different, you want to be on actual rates. You got your center. You can do that. Go up, go down, find the right spot. You've got your maximum velocity, up, down, find the right. Expo. Expo is the one that makes the biggest difference. And if you really want to get them dialed in, you do that. You do actual, max velocity, expo, and then you go back and you do it again. Because when you change them, it has a little bit of an effect on the other ones. And so if you go 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3, your rates will be dialed, and away you go. Cronut, thank you again for the super chat. Render says use the app or screen unload filament. I had a feeling. Filament unload, yeah. Denzel the Terrible says heat the nozzle before pulling it out. I assume that it'll do that for me. And or that's what she said. Tito Bones says yes, it's a toothpick. Was an HDLRC bind and fly. Bought used, first FPV setup, trying to get it back in the air. Had 1204 5200s, but now those are unavailable. 100 gram all up weight. Just get more 1204s. You do not have to have the exact same manufacturer motor. Find another 1204 motor that's close to 5200 kV. Put it on there. The PID loop will take care of it. You'll never know. Get motors that are slightly higher in kV. So find another 1204 out there that's either 5200 or 5300 or 54, 55, 56, 5700 kV. And the PID loop will limit those higher kV motors down. If you get lower kV motors, it'll limit your existing 5200 kV motors down, so you'll lose power. If you grab a set of a replacement or 2 replacement 1204s that are a higher kV, it'll fly exactly the same as it did with those 1204 5200s. Cole Power says there's unload filament. All right, cool. YouTube just did the thing again. Scrolling back up. Cole Power says if you need to clean the extruder nozzle, you can heat the extruder. Bamboo Labs does all that stuff. It's all magically automatic. It poops. It does all the things and it poops. It makes little poopies. This was my second 3D print right here. This was my third one. I kept them. I shit you not. I kept them. They're right here. Tito Bone says it had 8,000 kV originally, but it flew great with 5200 1204 with tri-blades. I would go back up to 8,000's a lot. Scott FPV says, hey man, can you run through setting up throttle, midpoint, and expo? Not really. That's about an hour-long conversation. But go to my channel, just like I've showed you guys like twice in a row now. Click the little magnifying glass, search for throttle expo. and you'll find it. I've done it on 2 live streams. It's about an hour each time. You don't need to watch them both unless you want to. There is no way to do it properly without that much of an explanation. If you're not willing to spend 45 minutes to an hour listening to me explain it, don't do it. You will make the situation worse, I guarantee it. If you're willing to learn for an hour, you'll know exactly what it is, how it works, you'll know how to set it, and you'll know how to adjust it. You have to adjust it when you fly in different locations, when you fly different weight quads. If you put a heavier battery on, you got to adjust it. So you have to learn about it and actually understand it, or else you're literally going to make your situation worse. The reason that most people say that they prefer linear throttle is because they don't like throttle expo is because they never took the time to learn about it, and they went in and they set it wrong, and it made the situation worse. If you actually learn about it and you mess with it a little bit, it's something that can be unbelievably helpful, and it is like it is a real missing link for anyone that hasn't done tens of thousands of batteries to really lock in their throttle control. If you want your flight footage to look like you've flown 10,000 plus batteries, throttle expo, for sure. I can tell how many years a pilot has been flying within about 30 seconds by just watching their throttle control. Throttle control is the most difficult thing to master in FPV flight, and throttle expo is a way to drastically improve your throttle control, but you have to set it perfectly. Himok says, in short, what is better than the CO3? No such thing as better. There's just different. If you want lots of info on Tiny Whoop cameras, do like I showed you. Search that live stream. Watch that live stream. I talked for over an hour about the different cameras. I showed them all. Talked about the pluses, the minuses. Different cameras weigh different amounts. Different cameras have different amounts of fisheye, different fields of view. There's a million different things. And yeah, no such thing as better, just different. Thrash FPV says, you do have the time to print. Best part is it runs while you do other projects. Come join the dark side, sir. Nope. SOS Death Pilot says it's Beta FPV Meteor 75 Pro 1S 45mm 3-blade. What is? I'm confused. What are we talking about here? What is it? When you say it is, like, what is it? So the previous comment of yours is, I see you got your stuff in like mine. I have the Meteor 75, but have the 0702 19,800 kV, I think, but they put on the 65. I'm still not seeing a question in here. DeCabacow says, remember to install honey. If you or anybody you know has honey installed, for the love of God, have them remove it. They are an evil company that's been stealing from content creators for many years. I'm pretty sure he was kidding with that chat comment. Calvin says, just got back from ripping 6 batteries on some Gorilla Whoops and lost a prop mid-flip while chasing a skater. It was a 75mm air. Thought about Loctiting the prop on the shaft. Don't do that. Loctite eats plastic. So if you try to Loctite a prop on a motor shaft, it'll melt the propeller. So never ever do that. If you're having problems with propellers coming off, the best thing you can possibly do is to take your shittiest, I've been having this problem for like 8+ years. Take your shittiest, really sharp tipped tweezers, and if this is the hole in the propeller, you're gonna put the sharp tipped tweezers in there at an angle, and you're gonna scrape them around 360 degrees. What you're trying to do in there is take the tip of the tweezers and push into the plastic, and you're gonna dig into the plastic, and when you dig in, it's gonna push up, right? The plastic has to go somewhere. So you're gonna dig a little valley, and on the left and right side of that valley, the plastic is gonna raise, and that's gonna make it grab the propeller shaft a little bit harder. So get in there, push really hard. It's gonna ruin your thin tipped tweezers, so use your shittiest ones, and then they're forever your prop tightening tweezers, and just push real hard and scrape it right around there, and then flip the propeller over, do it on both sides, and then your props will fit a little bit better on the motor shaft. The other way to do it is to take a pin and put a little bit of crazy glue on the end of a pin, wipe it around on the inside of the propeller hole, and let it dry. Don't super glue the propeller to the motor shaft. You've now destroyed that motor. Let it dry. When the super glue dries, it has a texture to it. And when you put that propeller on, that texture will grab against the metal. What's annoying about that method is that you take that propeller off and the majority of that super glue comes off with it. You put that propeller back on and maybe there's a little bit of super glue residue left. Maybe it doesn't fly off. You take that propeller off one more time, all the super glue is gone. You have to do it again. The thin-tipped tweezer method is like damn near permanent. You do that to a propeller once and it fits awesome forever. Austin Jeffries says, will different rates change how you would tune your pids? In the olden days, yes, but ever since feed forward, no. Feed forward eliminates a lot of the crosstalk between pids and rates. Before feed forward, in order to get really sharp throttle response, we had to turn our P gains as high as we possibly could get them. And that would have a little bit of an effect on your rates. Now that there's feed forward and you can crank that up for tons of stick response or turn it way down for more smoothness, the rates pretty much are the rates. There's still a tiny little bit of crosstalk, but not enough to really dive into it. Islander FPV says, Kazuma Drewsin puts the CiottiFPV in your question if you want to see it. Kazuma says, rate, I fly an Inductrix. How do I get those rates on my Acro B Brain Pro or my Beta FPV 65? I don't think you can. The Inductrix is like 10 years old. It might be on Betaflight rates, but it's probably not. It's probably on some weird proprietary angle rate profile setup. Yeah, just pick rates. Go to best thing is to watch this. How do rates work from a month ago? Watch this, and you'll understand how the rates work. You'll understand. I'll tell you exactly how to set them. Just now's the time for you to get yourself some Betaflight rates. Do it on actual rates. Actual rates are the way to go. It's the best rate profile setup. And it's easy. You turn them up one at a time. There's 3 different things. You take the first one, you turn all 3 values up a bunch, you fly it, you see if you like it, you turn them down a bunch, you fly it, you see if you like it, and then you figure it out. You move, if it was better higher than lower, then try going up and down a little bit when it's higher, and perfect. And then you move to the middle column, and you do the same thing. Turn them up, fly it, turn them down, fly it, figure out where it feels the best. Third one, good to go. It's a really good exercise too. If you want to stay in FPV and you want to learn to fly these things properly, which you do because it's absolute magic, this is something that you just have to do. There's no cheat code for this. There's no cheat code for about 98% of FPV, which is why most people quit. It's worth it to stay in it. It's going to be super frustrating. You're going to want to quit more than once. It's going to really suck. But if you can push through, there is nothing in this world like it. It is the closest thing that you will ever get to actually flying. And so stick with it and embrace the suck, my friend. Tito Bones says, thanks, love the explanations. You're certainly welcome. Cole Powers says, I have a P1S and I had a nozzle jam. The process to clean the nozzle is not manual, but it's not hard. And it's rather satisfying pulling the last bit out with a thunk. Nice. I don't think I have a nozzle jam, so I should be okay. Craig says, what do you think of OpenVTX as an alternative for FPV? It seems awful homebrew to me. And they're never going to catch up with DJI. Like, it's, you know, video systems are completely different than control links, right? Control links have never had like a DJI to compete with. It's been like the biggest company that control links have ever had to compete with is TBS, and they're not a very big company, and they seemingly gave up on caring about their control links many years ago. So it was super easy for ELRS to come in and just shit all over them. Video systems are completely different. DJI has hundreds of millions, billions of dollars, I don't know, an infinite amount of money to throw at video systems to just shit stomp everyone else, right? And so, yeah, OpenIPC is kind of interesting, but it's probably never going to be even as good as HD0 or Walksnail, right? Those two companies have a massive head start, and so, you know, if what's fun to you is kind of screwing around with open source stuff, then OpenIPC is probably going to be great, and you guys are going to love it. But if you just want something that works or you want something that performs really well, it's just not going to catch up. You know what I mean? They're not going to have the same number of devs or the same budget, and they're already like behind quite a bit, right? And so how are you going to get over those three things? Moss1 says, any tips on removing a broken peak screw out of an 0702 motor? Stop running peak screws was my solution to that problem. I had that happen to me when I was chasing RC drift cars one night, and it was just absolutely infuriating, and I just said, you know what? This is insane. I'm not putting myself through this ever again. Methods to removing broken screws: super glue something to it. Try to put a little slot into it so that you can get a really skinny, thin-tipped screwdriver in there. Maybe even a little X-Acto knife. Try to drive an X-Acto knife in there and cut a little slot and then unscrew it. Or just throw the motor away and take the $10 hit. But yeah, that's absolutely infuriating. Mike K says, why doesn't anyone make a charger with more than 6 ports 1S and 4 ports 2S? I really don't want to lug around multiple 2-stir and whoop-stir chargers. My guess is that charging 4 batteries or 6 batteries and then flying them is the right amount of time to charge 4 or 6 more. See what I'm saying? So like, you charge 4 or 6, you fly them, you put your other 4 or 6 on, you hit charge, you fly those batteries, the other ones are ready to go, you take them off, you start flying them while the other ones are charging, and you can just cycle. That's my guess. Kevin Summers says, treat 3D printing like a tool, but you also have to invest a little time to learn how to use the tool. Yeah, it's true. Luckily, YouTube University and you beautiful bastards have my back. Brandon Bean says, I will take pliers to GemFan biblades to crush the hub. This grabs the shaft, fails on tri-blades though. That's interesting. What do you crush it, like, top down? Oh no, you're talking about crushing it sideways, huh? Because you say it won't work on tri-blades? So you're taking the propeller, and then you're doing it like this. You're crushing it like this, right? Not like this. Which is why a tri-blade won't work, because you can't. Interesting. I never thought of doing that. That would totally work on the GemFan 1210s, because they have that solid hub. The GemFan 1219s, though, they have a weird hub design. I wouldn't want to do it on those. I also wouldn't want to do it on the HQ ultralight props, because they break, the hubs on those break a lot. I've got a pile of broken HQ ultralights from the hubs exploding, so I would not do that on these either. But yeah, on a GemFan 1210, that would absolutely work. Very cool. Good thinking, dude. I like that. Calvin says, I had spare props, but thanks for the tips for desperate times. Yeah, man. There are certain motors that will have thinner motor shafts, and it'll be a problem. Very annoying. Joe says, thoughts on Bardwell seeming to get into autocross. Oh, I didn't know he was doing that. That's really cool. If he does, I will join him and give him some instruction. I've been dying for an excuse to get back out to another autocross, and I love hanging out with him. So he would be in, what's the name of his region? I used to know the name of that region because I have a couple friends up there. Is it Buckeye? No, I forget the name of that region that he would be going to, but there's some fucking fast drivers in that region. They're in that region. We call it like, so autocross has a national tour that goes around the country, and we would affectionately call the winning drivers on the national tour aliens, because it was just like outrageous. Like I got really fast. Like I was really competitive, but I mean nothing compared to these guys. And there are a bunch of aliens in that region. And I've never actually run one of their events, so I would love to go up there. And there's probably a bunch of OG guys that I would love to actually talk to in person. The autocross community on the internet is the autocross community in general is pretty tight knit. So those of us that got really fast, and a lot of us instructors got to know each other from like the East Coast, but not many of them did I stayed in South Jersey region, typically. I did a bunch of events in Philly region, and North Jersey region, which is also kind of like New York region. And then I guess I did do some Delaware stuff. But yeah, I would love to meet some of those guys from the Tennessee region. Cole Powers says they should add texture to the motor shaft for better grip. D-motor, our shafts are ribbed for... Great. That's an interesting idea. That would make it hard to get the propellers on. I mean, if the motor manufacturers would talk to the prop manufacturers and just be like, hey guys, let's all make our motor shafts 1.01 millimeters. Sound good? Awesome. Hey prop manufacturers, why don't you guys make all of your propellers 1.02 millimeters? How's that sound? Done. Craig says, thanks for the OpenIPC answer. Kevin Sumner says, I think Craig was talking about OpenVTX, the analog VTX, not OpenIPC. He corrected himself and said OpenIPC. OpenVTX has been around a long time, right? I think a lot of stuff has OpenVTX. It's not really all that insane. Cole Powers, that's interesting. He says, I really hope OpenIPC adds stereoscopic 3D for dual cameras. That would be cool. I've seen that done before in ye olden days. High FPS for people who might get motion sick under 90 hertz. Interesting. DJi Walksnail will never do it. And I can see some neat applications. Yeah, I mean, that is a perfect example of where open source is actually really, really nice. I don't necessarily care about either one of those things. 3D would be super interesting and all, though. But yeah, I mean, if OpenIPC is, they need to be doing stuff like that if they want to like stick around, you know, because they've got an infinite amount of competition. So, yeah, if they're smart, they will do both of those things and many more wacky things that the bigger guys aren't willing to do. Tito Bone says, so 6 to 7K KV for the 3-inch would be good, or stick around 5200. I don't know, Tito. I don't fly that kind of rig. If you're happy with the way that it flew at 5200 kV, then you should stick with that. Go up a little bit, like I said, but And I mean, if you go up to 6,000 or 7,000, you can always motor limit it down in the PIDs tab. Like, that's super easy to do. But yeah, I mean, if you like the way that it flies, that's all that matters. What I like and what you like are going to be two totally different things. So yeah, if you dug 5,200, then get like 55, 56, 57, or even 6,000, and the PID loop will slow it down and away it goes. Sideways, Brandon Zupin says sideways, crush the barrel. Yeah, very cool. Mike K said, I get 5 minutes flight time on my Flylens 75. That's 20 minutes of flight time with 4 batteries. Charging takes about an hour. I don't know what to tell you, brother. I don't make the chargers. I don't talk to the charger companies. Yeah, I don't know. Get a bite to eat in between each battery? I don't know. Cjo says he was talking about buying a Miata a couple streams ago. No shit. What? Why is he not? Why am I finding out from you guys? Why am I finding this out from you guys? I'm literally gonna message him this. Why am I finding out from my chat that you're looking at auto-crossing and buying a Miata? You no respect my opinion? I'm coming up there. Wait. If you go to an autocross up there, I'm coming with you. All right. Denzel the Turbo says, sell JB your Miata. I would love to, but I have to get the fucking thing back first. I'm at the point where I'm starting to get. I've been just yelling at the guy that has had it for the last 5 years, and I don't know what else to do. I've tried being nice, and now I'm just being an asshole. I guess next I'll try threatening him, but like I have no ground to stand on. He shut down his old Instagram page, and so our entire conversation history is gone. So there's little to no proof of anything. So I'm a dumb person, and this is what happens when you do dumb things. So, Kevin Summers says, Denzel the Terrible, I think CiottiFPV might cut you. Yeah, it's a sore subject for sure. Craig says, open something seems like it would be way less expensive than DJi. Yeah. Cjo says, it was after his Vegas speed thing. Very cool. Calvin Knudsen says he seemed pretty serious about getting into it. Honestly, autocross, that is. Yeah, if you have the money for it, autocross is pretty amazing. Kevin Summers says, this is how we lose CiottiFPV back to autocross. JB gets into autocross. Yeah, no, I can't even come close. I mean, autocross is hands down the least expensive form of motorsport by orders of magnitude, but I still have nowhere near the money to get back into autocross. Even though, I mean, it's basically just like a set of tires a year. But like, you know, it's $35 to $45 per event. And like, yeah, I don't know. It costs some money. And any money that I have goes into FPV stuff for testing and to keep this show on the road. All right, we are good to go. Let's get started on the 1S04 65mm build. Cjo says, I went to an event with some college friends. I go to college for automotive restoration, and I did flags. Nice. Thank you for doing that, dude. Anybody that goes to autocross events and works has my undying love, because that's yeah. Without those folks, there would be no autocross. Since these screws are going to keep falling out, let me put these motors on here. But first, with all Newbie Drone, Cockroach V3, and Lite AF frames, you want to take a 9/64 drill bit and just open up the holes in the frame a little bit if you're going to be running Happy Model motors. The C-clips on the bottom of Happy Model motors are a little bit bigger than all the other motors, and they have the potential to rub on the plastic of these Cockroach frames. So just like you see me doing here, take the drill bit, run it around. You want to angle it like this. See how I'm angling it? That takes off a little bit of extra material. That's important. You could probably go one size up from 9/64 and not have to angle it like this, but I just angle it like this, and it's fine. That's all. No big deal. I had already done this frame, so I didn't have to... I didn't really take off much material there, but it's worth it just to do it. On Happy Model motors, there will either be a red dot or no red dot on the motor plug. Red dot is motor 1 and motor 4. And so on this frame, the hookers are going to be up front. So that means this is actually motor 1. So I'm going to put the red dot on motor 1. It's not, it doesn't really matter, but if you do that, you won't have to use the motor direction wizard, and it'll save you 18 seconds of your life. And if you do a lot of builds, 18 seconds adds up to like 5 minutes. Cjo says, I almost got hit by a C5 Corvette. It hit the fence where I was standing. Jesus Christ. Who the hell did your course design? I actually did our course designer in our regions, SJR, South Jersey region, when he would not be able to make it to an event, me and one other guy would take over the course design duties. And rule number 1 of course design is make sure that nobody runs into anything solid, which includes fences. So whoever did that course design should be fired. That is like really rule number 1 of autocross, because you've got a lot of... It's the most amateur form of motorsport. So you've got people like out on a hot racetrack that are not trained at all. And so it really comes down to the course designers to keep the corner workers safe. And yeah, cars running into fences is not that. That's scary shit. Although I will admit to almost killing the co-chair of our autocross region after I was co-chair for 2 years, and then I turned it over to a couple of great guys when I wanted to do more instructing, and I became the instructor chief. And I spun the car in like an 80-mile-an-hour slalom. It was the top of 3rd gear, and I just got really carried away in this slalom, and it 360'd into the grass, just right at him. Like if I'd been trying to hit him, I could not have lined it up more perfectly. But because our course designer Andre set the course up in a way that was safe, and because the number 1 rule of being a course worker is to keep your fucking eyes on the closest moving car, Bill was able to run sideways and get out of the way. But like if he hadn't been watching, he would have come into the car with me at probably like... I mean, I scrubbed off a little speed before I got into the grass, but it would have easily been like 60 miles an hour that he would have... The back of my car with the top down would have hit him. So he would have literally like come into the car with me. It would have been horrific. So, yeah. Shit does happen, but still. A physical barrier like a fence... yeah, there should be so much runoff before that. Although, all that being said, Corvette drivers tend to have far more money than common sense and or talent. And so, if there's a car that's going to hit a fence at an autocross, it's going to be a vet. If you talk to an instructor at track days, at any kind of a track day, ask him about instructing Corvette and or Viper. Viper is pretty rare. Corvettes are all over the place, but ask him about Corvette drivers, and you'll get some pretty horrifying stories. It's wild, man. It is crazy what a lot of the drivers of those cars, of just how little common sense those drivers have. It's an interesting combination of like massive egos, which is like enough. Even if they have skill, having a huge ego is a terrible thing at a racetrack. And then and yeah, so for an instructor to be in the passenger seat, like, you know, you put a car into a concrete barrier in triple digits, and like that instructor might die. You know, like, it's not a fucking laughing matter at track days. This is one of the things at autocrosses that's so nice, is that pretty much nobody will ever die. The speeds are too low, and there should be lots of runoff. And so autocross is a very unique form of motorsport where there's almost no risk of death. Any kind of a track day at a big boy circuit, there's always the risk of somebody dying. Unfortunately, it's typically the course workers, the corner workers. The cars are so safe that unfortunately corner workers are the most at risk, and we tend to see them be the ones that get killed, which is just like the worst thing ever. But it's you know, one of those things. It's wild. Like, if you look at the history of motorsport, early days, it was literally considered like a blood sport. It was like, oh yeah, you're gonna die. Like, old school F1, like, they were losing like 3-4 drivers a year. It was crazy. Before Jackie Stewart, it was literally considered a blood sport. Wild stuff. It is infinitely safer now, but I'm just making absolutely sure. Sorry, guys. I'm just making absolutely sure that the plastic is not touching these C-clips. I've had such weird experiences in the past with like a minuscule little piece of plastic rubbing against the C-clips that I get all carried away with it. Cijo says, yeah, there was grass, then rocks, then a fence for a dog park next to the lot. Jesus. Yeah, see, so like with course design, when there's an area like that, you absolutely never you don't design the course in a way that the car will have any significant amount of speed in that direction, right? Like, if this is all the bad shit that you don't want to hit, you design the layout so that any time that the cars are pointed towards that thing, they're not going fast. You design like all slow speed stuff in that direction. Like, it's course design is actually incredibly difficult. So yeah, anything like that, you really, unfortunately, never blame the driver. Kilo Zebra says, did you ever get into the TSD rally thing with SCCA? TSD? I did the Pine Barrens Express rally for a few years in southern New Jersey back in the 2000s. So you're talking about like timed rally. No, I never got into that. So timed rally is interesting. There'll be like a specific amount of time that you're trying to target between stages. and that time like assumes that you go basically the speed limit, and so it's about not getting lost, and it's about timekeeping more than like competitive driving. A lot of people love it, and you get to see some cool sights, and it's I'm sure it's fun in its own respect, but for me, motorsports is mainly about the way that a car transforms at the limit of grip. There's something that happens to the chassis of a car and to the sidewall of tires when you get them right to their limit of adhesion, and that I just absolutely fell in love with that, and yeah, that is the drug of motorsport for me, is getting a chassis and a set of tires to that limit of traction, and then going a little bit over, a little bit under, a little bit over, a little bit under, playing around with the slip angle of the car. That is the magic to me. Pushing as far as you can into the braking zone. It's just this incredible balance that you have to strike. This connection between man and machine. At this like invisible limit of traction, it is wildly addictive. And I'm super lucky that I got to do 10, 11, 12 years between autocross and track days and instructing and other weird forms of motorsport. Most people don't get that. And so, yeah, I don't like, there's no ill will of like, there's also like no desperation to just make a bunch of money to get back into it. Like I did it. I had an incredible time, and I've moved on. I can revisit it when I want, but it's not like a desperation thing. It's something that I got to do in a phase of my life where I was making really good money, and my mental illness was in a place where it allowed me to work in offices without completely losing it. And so, yeah, I don't think that I'm in that phase of my life anymore, and that's okay. That's okay. So here's the Matrix. This is the Beta FPV Matrix 1S AIO. This is what I've been waiting on to do this build with. It comes with a set of clear grommets and some really short frame screws that I'm not going to use because we're doing a double stack here. Cheetonian says, binge watch Drive to Survive Season 7 yet? No, I paused my Netflix this month, and I'm doing Apple TV. I might pause it for another month. We'll see. But whenever I get back on Netflix, I will check it out for sure. Cjo says, it was after a turn before a slalom. Yeah, so like that turn that it was after, the course designer should have had more elements on the way up to that turn to keep the speed in check, or a slalom leading into that turn to keep the speed in check. Basically, is the long and short of it. Still had a ton of fun, and I want to take the Bentley, but I worry about its suspension / braking. Nah, take it. It's $35-40, and like you'll know if it's unsafe, and they'll probably kick you out. But it's totally worth it. Kilo Zebra says, trying to maintain speed limit on the roads of the Pine Browns is a challenge in itself. Yeah, that's true. Burns Baked Bean says, what AO is this? Kilo Zebra says, I know the feeling, used to instruct at ice cross events. Very cool. Frozen Lake up here in New England, but the weather's been so warm for the last decade. Wow, that's ridiculous. That's insane that they can't do those events anymore because of climate change. Oh my God. I would love to know what the climate change denier donkeys say about that up there. I would love to know what their what insane conspiracy theory they have to not believe in that. Hey, look, Another one of these little beta FPV dongles will be available on my Etsy store. So that'll go, I think it went out of stock, so that'll go back in stock one of these days. If you need it, message me before I put it back in stock, and it's yours, whatever it costs on there. This is very cool. They give you a black connectored shorter wire. This is really slick. When you buy the 04, they give you this wire that's a little bit too long. So this is super, super, super nice. This is a lot shorter. Love that. Really good job, Beta FPV. That's a super subtle thing, but that's really actually very, very nice. Very appreciated. Okay, so is this camera not? This is not crotch cam. Okay, we're good. All right, so here's the best way that I've found to put these grommets in. You kind of go at a 45-degree angle. You get it started like this, and then you get some blunt-tipped tweezers. You pinch it and you push it. Pinch it, push it. And then you can just mash it through. So get it started with your fingers. Hold it, pinch it like this, right? And go at like a 45-degree angle with it pinched. And you drop it first. Pinch it, go in at a 45-degree angle, and you're just trying to get it to stay in there. Pinch, push, pinch, push. You're just trying to get it to the point where it sticks like that so that you can then grab your blunt-tipped tweezers, pinch it, push it, pinch it, push it, pinch it, push it. You'll never get it on the first shot. If you do get it on the first shot, you'll probably rip the damn thing. The reason why you want blunt-tipped tweezers is so you don't rip it. Once you rip these things, they're worthless. They're going to let the PCB hit the plastic, and it's not going to be soft-mounted anymore. Pinch, push, pinch, push. Sometimes you can get it with your bare hands. I have human hands, so that makes it more difficult. Sometimes you just get it started like that and then hold it with your thumb like this. In this case, there's a plug header right next to the hole. That makes it a lot more difficult. But yeah, this is the quickest and the most reliable kind of way of doing it. That one was hard because there were plugs on either side, but we still got it. Always try to put it in on the side of the board that's the clearest, that has the least shit in the way. That's probably obvious, but still. Pinch it, push it, pinch it, push it, pinch it, push it. Hold it with my thumb. Blunt tipped. Pinch, push. There we go. Not too bad. All right. So one of the things that I'm going to do with this build that I haven't done in the past is mount the batteries backwards, basically. So let me show you this. This is the walk snail batwing mount build. And so if you look at this build, we've got a bunch of weight up here, right? We've got the TPU mount and then we've got the camera. We have no weight in the back to offset that. So this thing is nose heavy, and that's not good. That makes the front motors work harder. But look at this, right? These 300 mAh batteries, you can push them all the way in so that there's, and so this current setup, it's even worse. The battery is also front weighted. What I do after I plug the battery in is I scooch it back as far as I can, but you can still see the battery is front weighted. I'm going to do the opposite on this. I'm going to run the AIO so that the plug is in the front. So these hooks are the front of this frame. So I'm actually going to run this AIO reversed so that I can push the battery all the way forward and have the battery be a little bit of rear offset weight. Does that make sense? Kind of a weird thing to do, but it's all about performance. The only thing I don't love about doing this is that the battery might become the low point. And I'm gonna check that right now. That's the first thing that I want to kind of take a look at here. Why is this fighting me? What's getting in the way? Motor plugs? Nope. Why won't this go down on the frame posts? Okay, I was just being overly gentle. There it goes. Okay. Except for this last one. This last one's being a dick. Please stop being a dick. Oh my God. Please cooperate. Why? Why are you doing this? Is this motor plug in the way? What is happening here? Ah, there it goes. There it goes. That was weird. Okay. So the motor plug is facing forwards. So if I put this battery in here, got to get these battery leads flattened out a little bit. All right. So if I run this battery, right, I can push it all the way back. And now this battery lead's way too long. So I'm probably going to shorten this up. But just for the sake of argument, yeah, so if you kind of look there, this is going to be the low point. So if you think about like if this is the ground, if I hit the ground, it's going to hit on that battery port first. But if you look, the ducts are pretty damn close. So it's not, I'm only losing like a fraction of an inch. See that? I'm only losing like maybe a couple millimeters of clearance. So that's fine. That's totally fine. I'll shorten up this battery lead, I guess. Although it's not too bad tucked in like this. Always kind of, yeah, I don't know. That's not too bad. AIO powered up and didn't explode. That's nice. The other option is to run one of the LED 180 degree BT 2.0 bing bongs, but I don't want any extra lights on this, and they would be pointing forwards. So I don't necessarily, unless I use one of the white ones, I could use it like a little headlight. And then if I don't like it, I can just put some E6000 on top of it. Some black E6000. That's an interesting idea. I have them in white. Let's see. Oh, what am I saying? I'm so stupid. I can just turn this over. I can just put... yeah, no. No, I'm going to leave this on here. This is fine. If I put the battery in... If I rotate the battery, then I can just do that. Yeah, no, that's what I'm going to do. And now it's still kind of the lowest point. But when I look at the 180 degree LED one, it's got a little bit of extra thickness to it. So I'm not gonna use that. I'm gonna leave this alone. And yeah, I'm just gonna run it like that. That's totally fine. I do need to shorten this wire up though, because if this wire is long like this, every time I nose it into something, the battery is going to scooch forward. And if the battery scooches forward, now this is definitely going to hit early. So I absolutely need to shorten this BT 2.0 up, which is maddening, but that's life sometimes. Okay, so I'm going to shorten it a bunch. I'm going to shorten it like the width of my fingernail here, because this battery can move a bunch. So yeah, I'm going to take a good chunk off of there. Battery pushes all the way up to there. So what I can do is just leave a little mark on the battery here. Okay, so if I just come here, I can use the battery as a ruler. Just put a little mark here. Yep, there we go. One side and the other. Cool. Unplug this. And all right. I was hoping this cable wouldn't be quite this long and I could just kind of get away with leaving it, but it's not surprising at all that I'm going to have to shorten this up. I love this 180 degree Beta FPV BT 2.0 because it's very easy to grab and unplug. And it doesn't have the lights. Man, am I tempted to use one of those 180 degree BT 2.0s, but this just works, man. Like, and those are kind of a pain in the ass to build and put together, if I'm completely honest. So, although it would give me the excuse to swap these. I hate these stupid blue and white wires. I guess I have to do it, right? This is the perfect opportunity to build one of these things with a headlight. It's not going to be nearly bright enough to do anything, but I have a bunch of extras of these, and like, it would just be an insane wasted opportunity to not do it, right? You guys would be very upset if I didn't do this, would you not? Let's find the white one. Oh, first fucking try. What other colors do I have? Red? Is this orange? No, green. Look at me. I've got some black cables in here. Look at me. Don't use black cables for battery wires. It's just stupid. You're just going to forget which is ground and which is power. Don't be like me. Be like Mike. All right. You guys remember that? Remember Be Like Mike? Was that it? Was it Be Like Mike? Remember Bo Jackson? Didn't Bo Jackson get all tied up in like some weird fucking scandal or some shit? Okay. So now I don't even need these marks. Well, I can use those marks. Yeah. I can use those marks. CJ says both battery cables in the Bentley are black. Boy, that is brave. Dronzen says the bare hands, human hands literally made me laugh out loud. Craig says, does Maggie tease you about hearing pinch it, push it, drifting up from your basement? Now, she does a good job not listening to anything I say, thank God. And that's why she's still here. That's why I'm still here, I should say. Craig says, did you get the required photos for your BT 3.0 battery giveaway? I did indeed, although I only got one $5 PayPal to cover the shipping on the one, but I got to bug both people. So yeah, they're done. They're good to go. Kelvin says, when reversing the whole board, you just change the accelerometer orientation position in beta flight and everything else is good to go. Yep, that's it. Mort Upshot says, do you normally leave the little plastic cover on your BT 2.0 plug? I usually peel them off. What little plastic cover? What little plastic cover? BT 2.0 plug, little plastic cover. I don't know what you mean. Tell me more. Kevin Summers says, be like Mike, Gatorade Michael Jordan. That's it, Michael Jordan. Himmock says, are you going to fly it when you finish? Yes, but I'm not going to finish it tonight. Joe says on the battery. You remove this black thing? Why? Don't do that. Bo knows. McMucus knows. Yeah, don't remove this plastic thing. This plastic thing is what prevents the battery from ejecting out of the tiny whoop. Don't remove that. No, no, no. Don't do it! Alright, soldering iron is up to temperature. Nerd goggles are going on. Joe says, I'm just guessing. I don't know, man. So Good Dom says, the end of the Beta 180 plug is covered in a rubber cap. You can remove that to save about 0.2 grams. It just peels off. No shit, I never tried. Oh, it is rubber, isn't it? I'll be damned. Yeah, no, I never thought to pull that off. I like it. My favorite thing about these is how easy they are to disconnect. These guys are just as good. These guys are just as easy because it's like a big bing bong. But yeah, I dig these usually when I don't want headlights. Word Upset says no, the plug, not the battery. All right, yeah, we got there. Hemlock says, wish we were going to watch you flying now. I do have two 300 mAh batteries. I can fly a couple batteries, but it ain't going to be on this rig. You guys wouldn't be able to watch me fly this rig anyway because this is an 04 build. And so, yeah, this is a... I fly it during the week and then play the flight footage at the beginning and end of the flight videos build. Little bit of flux paste on the battery leads. And I'm going to move the work around a little bit. Put this flat. I'm going to take the third little grabby grabber. And I'm just going to like triangulate here. Just so that nothing wants to move. If I have to pull or push on this. That's looking pretty solid. But I'll bring the fourth one in now. We're totally locked down. Alright. Rotate the work around. So I can easily get at it. I'm going to use the tweezers, I think. Yeah. All right. Soldering iron comes off the stand and goes directly into the little cleaning brass Brillo steel wool fucker. Tip is nice and clean. Flux on the solder joint. Touch it to the flux. The flux melts. Heat transfers, solder turns to liquid, a little bit of patience. This is the ground joint that I'm working on, so it's always going to take a little bit longer. And cable is out. These are through holes, so we're going to use solder wick in a second. Positive lead. The blob of flux paste has already melted because of the heat that got put through the whole PCB. I'm just hitting the ground plug again to get a little bit more heat into it. Really quickly get my solder wick while there's still heat in the board. Solder wick goes down. Tip of the soldering iron on, and then just watch the solder wick. You'll see the silver solder wick up into it. It's not doing a great job. This is leaded solder. These through holes are usually a pain in the ass. Well, you can kind of get it started by tinning the tip of the soldering iron. I know it seems weird to add solder when you're trying to remove solder, but you need to get the heat to transfer. The tip of the soldering iron is dirty. Let's clean it. All right, now we're going to pick up a little bit of solder here. Just a tiny little bit. That's too much. We'll give it a shot anyway. Solder wick goes down. This is going to transfer the heat and hopefully draw that solder out of that through hole. It did not. So the problem that we're having here is that this is unleaded solder. And it sucks. Unleaded solder just does not cooperate, especially in through holes. And the best way that I've found to clear it out, other than drilling it out, like literally drilling it out, is to add fresh solder to these. You're going to mix the fresh solder with the unleaded solder. Fresh solder is leaded. The solder that we use for small scale work outside of factories has lead in it, and it's a lot better. So nice big blob of solder, and I'm just like pushing down into the through hole to try to mix it all up. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the positive lead. I'm just pushing down, push down, push down, push down. And now let's try it again. Soldering iron's still hot. We'll bring the wick right on in. And I've got a blob of solder on the tip of the iron. Ground first. Oh, yeah. There we go. Oh, wow. No, that pulled a bunch of solder up, but still not enough. This solder wick has flux powder in it. So adding additional flux, it still helps a little bit. I'm actually going to try that now. But it's not as necessary. It's better to tin the tip of the iron than to add extra flux when you're using the solder wick, I've found. But, I mean, no reason to kind of not do both, to be really honest. So that's what we're going to do here. Let's clean the soldering iron. All right, here we go. Pick up a little tiny bit of solder. Come on, you bastard. This is looking good. Yeah! That was the one. Cool. The ground, I do the ground one first because it's more difficult, and it dumps a bunch of heat into the whole, into the entire board. And so now if we quickly come in and do the positive, we'll maybe get it on the first shot. Oh yeah, there it goes. Oh wow, no. It pulled a bunch out, but not quite enough. Hit it one more time. If you're quick, you don't have to clean the tip of the soldering iron. You don't give it enough time to oxidize. There we go. I think that's it. Hell yeah. There it is. Nice and clean. There you go. So now let's see if these wires will go through. This is these might be slightly higher gauge, slightly thicker battery cables. Come on, you bastard! Yeah. Let's see. See if this will go. It will not. All right, so I'm actually going to go down in wire gauge because this is just, there it is. It's too big. On a 65mm rig, there's really no reason to go up in wire gauge. I set this wire aside for 75mm rigs just in case it might help a little bit. But for a 65, it's silly, especially a cruising 65mm rig. So let's get this out of here. I forget what the regular battery wire gauge is. Let me take a look. 22. So this is 20, I believe. Yep, this is 20. That's why it won't fit. So I will save this for an eventual 75mm 1S nightmare that I dive back into for sure. With 04 this time, since lots of people are already fighting me saying that 1S is great for 04 and it's all that you ever need, and 2S is for idiots that can't fly. And then I look at them flying and I'm like, so you were talking about yourself then? Come on, get in there. Always blows me away that the people that say that other people can't fly are always the worst pilots I've ever seen. It's funny how that works. It's actually not funny at all. It's incredibly obnoxious. What did I say? 22, right? 22s. Yeah, 22. All right, let's see. Do I have some 22 gauge floating around in here? I'm sure I do. That's 18. That's 20. Is this 22? That's 26. That's 24. What the hell? Where's the 22? Is that it? That's it. There's no method to madness, to the madness in this thing. There it is, 22s. Is this long enough for both? It sure is. Cool. Sometimes I get organized. Every once in a while. Kevin Sumner says, sometimes if you're really gentle with it, you can get your thick... Yikes. Just Bright says, how much on fiber for some help? On fiber? What's that mean? What does on fiber mean, Just Bright? Is that young people talk? There's a 14 and an 18-year-old in this house, and I've never heard them say on fiber. But that doesn't mean much, because I know young, cool people speak changes like daily. Craig says, what solder wick to use? MG Chemicals, what width? Now, at the moment, I have this really cheap. It's actually it's not very expensive, but it's very famous. Very famous solder wick. 1.5 width is 1.5 millimeters. Get 2 millimeters. Get 1.5 millimeters in width or 2 millimeters. The MG Chemicals stuff is good. Even the generic stuff is totally fine. Or what the hell's the other company? Chemtronics. The stuff that I had before this, I really liked. And I think it was Chemtronics. Yeah, Chemtronics. This is solder. But I mean, I'm sure the MG Chemicals stuff is good. But if you want to be super custom, Chemtronics, I've never used the MG Chemicals wick, but the Chemtronics wick that I had before this stuff, I liked a little bit better. The weave was like a little bit tighter, but this is totally fine. For Christmas one year, my dad got me a little set of a whole bunch of solder wick of different thicknesses so that I could try each different thickness. This one is kind of like right in the middle. And I don't use it often enough to go through it. So like this, the previous little spool of Chemtronics lasted me like 8 years. So yeah, you only use like little tiny bits of it. Like literally, you use pieces this big at a time. So it lasts forever. So yeah, Chemtronics or MG Chemicals, they're probably just as good as one another. Or just generic if you're trying to save a buck, and it'll be totally fine, I'm sure. Have solder wick, though. Don't not have solder wick. Tokyo Dom says, solder sucker for them pigtail holes. Never had much luck with solder wick, especially on the negative pad. So, solder suckers are not good, in my opinion. Solder, like... So you've got your PCB, and then you've got a layer of adhesive, and then you've got your copper pad on top. The problem with the solder sucker is you push that plunger back, and it's now spring-loaded, and it's got that ceramic tip on it. You hold that solder sucker down, you put a bunch of heat into the board. That heat softens up the adhesive. And so now when you push that button on the solder sucker and that plunger shoots forward, it sends that ceramic tip down into the board, right? Like conservation of energy or whatever. And so you've got your solder pad that's just glued down, and the adhesive is now hot from the soldering iron, and so now you're hitting it with that ceramic tip, and so it's kind of hard on the pads. It's less of a problem with the through holes, but the other issue I have is that when I hit the button, the solder sucker will move. And so you've got all this heat in the board, like in this example, right? We've got this plug header. So I've put a bunch of heat into the board, and now the solder sucker is going to bump into this plug header, which has got all that heat in it. And so I find solder suckers to be like super sketchy. The solder wick, I never had good luck getting the solder sucker that I had to work. As soon as I started using solder wick, it was super simple, and it just seemed to work a lot better. My dad tipped me off to that, and my dad was an electrical technician for 30, 40 years. And so I trust him with my literal life. And so yeah, I've used solder sucker. I got a solder sucker at first, and then the first time that that he gave me some soldering tips, he's like, "Yo, throw that thing away, bro." I was like, "Okay." So yeah, I'm not a solder sucker fan, but to each his or her own. All right, so let me get this sized up correctly. So I think I left this mark. So what I want to do here is use this mark, and then I'm going to come here and I'm just going to clip this lead down. Okay. And I'm just going to use this as a guide for how long these other wires are going to be. That should be just about right. Hopefully that's not too short. I want it to be exactly right though, because I want it to hold the battery in as far as possible. So I'm going to give it a tiny little bit extra, but I am going to cut this to damn near the exact same length. So like right there, I think. All right. And so this should be the perfect length. Yep. And now the positive and negative leads are front and back on here. So I'm going to cut the other piece of wire just ever so slightly longer. And then the little bit longer wire I'll put in the farther forward hole. And that way the wires will sit a little bit more flat. So just a tiny little bit, like 2 millimeters longer, I'm cutting it. I've played around with that. I usually cut the longer one a little bit too long, and then it sits weird. Hopefully this is perfect. This side of the wires is pre-stripped and tinned. Let me make sure that it's going to fit through the AIO. It does indeed, but it's a little bit too long. How thick is this? Oh, yeah, I'm going to shorten these up just a little bit. If you put your finger, before you cut this, if you put your finger up here, you'll catch the little piece of conductive shit so that it doesn't fall into your board and blow your shit up. Top tip. So just get it on here and hold it, and then just put your finger up there. And then into your little garbage can. That might save you $50. These 30 gauge wires I've been doing with these flush cutters. Don't do it like this. I've done this enough where I know the exact amount of force that I can put on it before I hit the strands. But it's still a bad idea. I do it very lightly and then I come in with my fingernails. I've been chewing the shit out of my fingernails lately though, so I just wanted to leave a little bit of an indentation there. When in doubt, strip too little of the silicone off, because then you can always push the silicone down with your fingernail like you just kind of saw me do. All right. And I actually cut a little too much off. But that's all right. You will, since at this point I'm using through holes, I'm tempted to not tin these, because when you tin them, it's very easy to add too much solder, and then you can't get them through the through holes. Here's the trick. Do it right. Take your helping hands, flip this thing around, get it into position, and flux the wire. If you flux the wire, you'll be able to put just the tiniest little bit. Also, turn the wires just to make absolutely sure that they're as tight as possible, right? So twist the wires ever so slightly. I'm not really doing anything other than making sure that there's no little flyaway guys. This is the key right here, is to tin these wires, and do it with the nerd goggles on so you can see what the hell you're doing. Craig says on Fiverr. Just Bright says, oh, Fiverr. Yeah. You can either go through Fiverr, which is linked on my website, CiottiFPV.com, or you can just message me, Instagram, Discord. They're all on there, and then we just get it scheduled, and away we go. Just Bright says, I tried and it didn't seem to work. Thanks. I need help getting it in the air. Paid for help before, but still grounded. I tried and it didn't seem to work. What did you try and it didn't seem to work? Morton Upshot says, my sucker has a silicone tip. Oh, that's pretty cool. Tokyo Dom says, interesting. Mine is plastic tip and the spring loaded goes out backwards rather than forwards. Doesn't the plastic tip just melt though? Kevin Summer says, I switched from a solder sucker with a hard tip to one with a silicone tube, and it made a world of difference. Shit, if I had one with a silicone tube, that would be a lot less destructive seeming. But man, solder wick works beautifully once you've messed around with it a little bit. Like once you realize that you need to put a little bit of heat into the board, and then to use some flux and to tin the tip of the soldering iron, the wick is just incredible. Kevin Sumner says, I alternate braid and sucker depending on the situation. Yeah, I've never wanted to stray from the solder wick ever since I realized how to actually use it. But before I figured out sort of like the little tricks to it, I didn't like it. But as soon as I realized that I could tin the tip of the soldering iron to get the heat transfer started and use a little bit of extra flux, it was just like, oh, well, this is amazing. It just pulls all the solder up into the wick. That's like perfect. And it just does it like completely non-destructively, you know? If you're trying to remove a ton of solder though, I mean, you can just get the wider wick, but yeah, a solder sucker would probably save some time, that's for sure. But I don't typically have to remove solder. I don't find myself needing to do that very often. All right, so we've got flux on the top. I'm going to bring the soldering iron in from the bottom. We're trying to do this as quick as possible and just add a tiny little bit of solder to tin these, because we don't want to make the wire any thicker. And that's it. Just like a split second, just a little bit of solder on there, and that's it. Which will also keep the strands of wire together, which is really nice. You don't want to add so much that you make it thicker, because then it's going to be a nightmare to get it through the through holes. So let's do the plug first. Whenever you solder... Oh, I don't need to, because I'm not soldering direct to the BT 2.0. Whenever you solder BT 2.0 or XT30 or XT60, plug the other side in to make sure that the pins don't warp and move around. But I've already done that part. Now I just need to solder to the PCB. So all I need to do is confirm that round is ground. Yep, round is ground. And then on the AIO, the ground is farther away. So the ground is going to be the longer cable. And so that's this one. This is the longer cable. So round is ground. And so that means that this one goes in there. And so I'm going to steal 2 of these helping hands. Oh, fart. Right now is where the OmniFixo earns every penny that you've paid for it. This is the magic of the OmniFixo right here. So I'm going to put this guy in this clamp sideways like that. And then I'm going to put the wire in this one like this. And then round is ground, so that's on the bottom. And we move this, and it stays exactly where it should be. It doesn't, like when I push it, it doesn't then recoil and pull the goddamn wire back out. That is it right there. That is like, ugh. And now I can even like very specifically move this thing around so that it sits perfectly next to the plug and it's just in the exact right position. I am going to have to get a little bit weird because I am going to add a little bit of solder to this, but I can probably, yeah, I take that back. This is going to be easy. I just had to rotate that around a little bit like that. And so I know you guys aren't going to be able to see this, but just trust me on this. I finished up that 5-inch rig after the stream the other night, and I was done soldering all those pads in like 10 minutes, not having the camera in the way. It's so difficult to get a camera in close enough to soldering work to be able to see what the hell you're doing and for it to not be completely and utterly in the way. I forgot flux. Just a little bit there. Okay. Alright, and so the through hole is not tinned. And the wire was barely tinned because I didn't want to make it any thicker. So I have to add solder in this case. But that's totally fine because the helping hands are my third hand. The OmniFixo is my third hand. Not to be confused with my third leg. That's something totally different. All right. Here's the other one. You have to see this. This is just so good. Just so good. Camo Studio. Why are you on the other monitor? See the wire sticking through the top one? That's the one I'm doing now. A little bit of flux. Okay. I'm going to just adjust this a little bit. Good. Hopefully that didn't come out of focus. Of course it did. There you go. And away we go. I'm gonna put heat back into this. Okay, so the first time that I did that, I hope you guys saw that. the first time that I did that, and the reason why I went back is because it did not, I didn't give it enough time to transfer heat into the pad. And the telltale sign was that iron's at 700, which is a little hot for small work like that, but if you're quick, you're fine. The first time I did that, the solder joint went out and up and around. And a lot of times when that happens, it's because you haven't transferred heat into the pad itself. You've put all the heat into the end of the wire and the solder, and it's just, and the blob of solder is just sitting up on top of the wire with not much of a connection to the pad. In a case like this, it's not the end of the world because, like, it's not going to go anywhere. You have this big ball of solder, and you can't pull that wire through. But if that wire pushes forward, it's not good. I came in a second time and I let the heat push down into the pad, and then it went from this to this. And this is what you want. There's still a little bit too much solder on there, but it's important to watch for the pad. In this case, it's hard because it's a through hole and it's tiny. But you always want to look. It's a two-step thing. First, first the solder that you pick up on the tip of the iron is going to go liquid. Then you're going to touch that usually to the wire. And the tinning on the wire is going to go liquid. And then you have to wait. You have to wait until you see some flow go down to the pad. And then you're going to see it flow down to the pad. And now you've transferred heat from the tip of the iron to the stripped part of the wire and then to the pad. Never take the heat away before you see it flow down to the pad itself. And like I said, a lot of times the telltale sign is it'll go from like a ball up on top to this. And so I hope you guys could see that. That was a perfect example of that happening. I've made a huge mess. Hold on. And it is after 12 o'clock. So I'm going to fly a couple of quick batteries and then we're going to call it quits for the night. Jake FPV says, normally on 450C, 850, but I use a small ass tip. Drunden says you should snip the prongs lower in the back of the LED plug. I could do that. I'm afraid of breaking them, though. I mean, they're not hurting anybody. They're kind of tall. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to put shrink wrap over it, so they're not hurting anybody. Ooh, maybe I won't shrink wrap this one. I've been meaning to do E6000 on one of these. Usually I put shrink wrap around it and I have to like file the edges of the board. The most recent time I did it, I thought, you know what? I bet you if I just blobbed a big thing of clear E6000, that would work perfectly. So maybe I'll do that on this one. Let me knock out hooking this up to the AIO though. Just so that we have... Because at this point, we'll be done soldering on this. This is the last bit of soldering. Now is when you want to confirm that round is indeed ground. Yep, we're good there. And so... Alright. Why is that not wanting to go through there? Smooth-jawed pliers. Let's just go around real quick and just squeeze. Try to flatten this out a little bit. Oh, it's from when I cut it. I cut these wires a little bit shorter, and that flattened them out a bunch. And then it didn't want to go through there, so I just need to squeeze it a little bit. There we go. Now they're round again. Now they should go right on through there. And so... Again, I want to triangulate a little bit with the OmniFixo, just so that this doesn't go anywhere. And now watch this, right? I'm going to take this one. I'm going to lay it flat down like this. Round is ground. Clamp the wires. And then I can just bring these wires up and just put them right in the little through holes. Oh, it's just... Oh, God, OmniFixo. How did I live without you? How did any of us live without you? And now you can pick the whole thing up. And what I like to do is make sure that the silicone is pushed up against the board. But I also like to give it a little bit of a backwards tilt so that the wires don't go straight down from the AIO. Make the wires come out a little bit of an angle, because that's the direction they're going anyway, right? So get this just right. That looks great. And now it's just stupidly easy, and you can get this like incredibly clean solder joint here. See if I can get this little camera on it again. Oh yeah. Oh yeah! Clean the tip of the soldering iron. Soldering iron on one side of the through hole, add solder on the other side. Big puff of smoke when I hit the flux. See, it's balled up on top. Be patient. There it is. It's still a ball. It's a ball because there's too much solder on there. Let me just, there's already temperature in it. Let me come back in with a totally clean tip of the iron. Come in on the side there. And now the tip of the iron will pick, nah, it's still a ball. I picked up a bunch of solder though. It's fine. That's not too bad. And I can see that it's connecting with the outsides of the through hole. And the last thing you want to do is look at the bottom where the wire is poking out and make sure you don't see individual strands of wire. I'm going to do that after this. The next thing I'm going to do is the positive lead. So let me get this little clampy boy out of here. Oh, stop it. Get. Go. Okay, hold on. Goddamn camera's in the way. Hold on. All right, so now I'm going to clamp just the positive wire and see if I can get that all up in there, all nice like. Push it forward a little bit. Yeah. Hold on. Get some tweezers in here. I'm actually going to get the clamp out of the way. I'm going to feed this wire into the through hole. There we go. And then it's kind of making that little angle on its own. And then I'm going to clamp it. Ah, it fell out. The second wire is always a pain in the ass when you cut these different lengths. But it's worth it. There we go. It's exactly where I want it. And now if I clamp, please stay. Yeah, there we go. Beautiful. All right. And I'm not going to move this, so you guys are just going to have a less good view of this. But see if you can see when the heat transfers through to the through hole. See if you can see the moment that the solder flows down to the through hole. And you'll also notice, like, sometimes I'll get a little impatient and I'll hit the tip of the soldering iron with a little bit of solder. So, like, ideally, you just add the solder over here, but I can just go there to get that process started. All right, it flowed really fast on that one. Because it's the positive lead, it just flowed right down, and there was not like a delay. There was not much of a delay there, so that was not very obvious. But hopefully on the ground lead, you guys saw that moment where where the heat finished kind of transferring. And so now you just look at the bottom here. There's that little gap in the wire, right? Because there's the 45-degree angle, and you just look in there and see if there's solder. And I'm not going to be able to show that to you on the camera. I'm going to need the nerd goggles. Actually, I'm going to need the 5X loop for that because it's really tight in there. So light source close to my head, loop in my eyeball, and yep, it's nice and silver from the solder. Yep. What you don't want to see is like, this is the through hole. You don't want to see like bare non-tin strands of wire coming out the bottom, because then you've just got the solder joint on the top. You want the whole through hole to be saturated with solder, and you'll actually have like a little lip of solder on the bottom. If you can see the gold or the copper of the bottom of the through hole, that's a problem. You need to add more solder to that so that the whole goddamn through hole is just filled. That's when these through holes are like infinitely strong. And especially with battery leads, this matters because battery leads get tugged on. Looking good. There's all the soldering that we have to do for this build. That's pretty cool. Now it's just going to be screwing things together. Let me take a look. Actually, let's see if I made the wires too short. This might not be the end. This may just be the beginning. I gave them the tiniest little bit of extra length, but I really cut them as short as I possibly could so that the battery would not eject. So the battery would not shift, basically. And the problem can arise when you go to plug the battery in, because the wire has to be long enough to go out over the end of the plug, you know what I mean? And so it's kind of sketchy doing this. But hopefully I got it just right. Okay, so here we go. And so I want to run it like that. And you can maybe, nope, you can't see because I have that camera on. You can maybe see why I make that one longer, right? By making it longer, it traces that longer route, and then the wire sits nice and flat. So flat spot towards me. Here goes nothing. Oh my God, it's perfect. Oh, it's absolutely perfect. I could have actually gone the tiniest little bit shorter. But if you go too short, it's not long enough to plug in. You know what I mean? Oh, I could have gone a bunch shorter. Shit. That sucks. Look at that. We got headlights, bro. Yeah, so I could have totally gone shorter. The battery's going to be able to move that much. That sucks. But if I'd gone... How much shorter could I have gone? So that's as far forward as the battery... Well, as far backwards as the battery will go. Yeah, I mean, I could have gone that much shorter. So that's... I could have gone a little bit shorter because you can angle it backwards. So I was like 2 millimeters too long. That's okay. No capacitors, Austin. There's nowhere to put them. Sam talking about using through holes as pads. That is the easy way out. A lot of people do that. Through holes are the absolute strongest connection possible. And so to use a through hole as a pad is actually the weakest possible way of doing it. Which, like a regular pad is nice and big. A through hole as a pad is a lot smaller. So using a through hole as a pad is the weakest possible way to connect a wire. It's usually going to be totally fine, but I try to build this stuff so that I never have to rework it and I never have to repair it. And so using through holes the correct way is one of the best ways to do that. And it's just 2 of them, right? Like you're adding like 10, 15 minutes of work, and then down the road it can, you know, if you have to redo the work, then that 15 minutes that you saved or lost, however you want to look at it, is out the window. So yeah, very cool. JakeFV says, isn't the headlight going to blast the 04 recording? You'll know when I know. I can always just put 2 little dabs of black E6000 over it to dim it down or to shut it off completely. This is just kind of like a little fun experiment. It might be cool. It might add a little highlight. You never know. It depends on the lighting situation. Like if I'm flying somewhere that's really dark, it could cause problems. But I probably won't be. And if you're flying somewhere that's bright, these LEDs won't be nearly bright enough to do much of anything. So yeah, at this point, it's just screwing a bunch of stuff together and printing out the mount that Crom remixed from Timmons' Batwing design, clipping it on. Hopefully these little hooks don't break off. They're kind of starting to break off already. So hopefully they'll be willing to hold on and be cool. But yeah, and then it's also just like plugging shit in. I gotta see how. I gotta figure out how to orient the AIO so that the camera cable is long enough, right? So the camera needs to go all the way up front here. Oh, it's cool that I gotta also E6000 the camera plug to make sure that doesn't break off. So I got a bunch of nonsense to do. But yeah, if the camera plug is here, I probably want to set this up. I don't need this. I probably want to set this up so that it's this is in the back. So I'll do it either like that. Yeah, that looks pretty good. I'll sit like that. Or I might do it. There's only really going to be 2 orientations that I can set this up in. It's going to be either that or that. Well, it's not going to be that because that... wait, no, that is... Oh, okay. Yeah, that's how I'm doing it. That's perfect. Yeah, so I'll do it like this. Antenna plug over here. That's there. This plug is here. Let's see if this is long enough. This will be interesting. I might have to use the DJi plug. Let's see. Pins up. Come on. Get in there, Lewis. There we go. All right, so with that guy like that, I don't think this cable is going to be quite long enough. Or maybe it's exactly the right length. Oh man, they're going to have to cross over. That sucks a bag of donkey dicks. Nope, not quite long enough. That's annoying. It's off by like a fraction of an inch. So I'll have to use the longer included DJi cable. This is just not going to quite turn the corner there. That's okay. So yeah, plug the 2 in. Figure the screw situation out. I'm going to use this very cool little top piece that Timmons made and printed for me with the Micro King logo just to kind of like hold shit down. And yeah, print that front mount out, snap that on. Away we go. This coming Saturday, I'm going to go chase the little RC drift cars again for the first time in a while since the old place closed down. So that'll be incredibly fun. But yeah, I need to do some prep here to get everything ready. I'll run a little, I don't know what antenna I'll run. Maybe I'll run a little circular polarized. Oh, there's no reason to run a circular polarized because the goggles are linear antennas. So yeah, I'll run a micro V on this. But yeah, I need to prep. I'm going to prep the... Oh, this is a newer 04 Lite. Let me look at the UFL. Ooh, the UFL actually looks pretty good on this one. One side looks good, the other side looks like ass. Nah, both sides look like shit. Yeah, the UFL needs to get prepped. There needs to be a little bit more solder added to the UFL. So I got a bunch of bullshit work to do on this, but I'll do that maybe tomorrow. Wednesday, this should be done, and I should have some kind of cruising around the house 04 footage for you. No promises. I've talk therapy tomorrow, and sometimes those days are a little tough, but we'll see. Thanks for hanging, friends. CiottiFPV.com to support me, and I'll see you guys again Wednesday at 8 o'clock. Did Discord get their shit together with the time change? No, they didn't. What is the deal, Discord? Discord doesn't understand time changes happen, and they shift the live streams by an hour. What's that about? That's super weird. All right, guys, be good. Here's some more flying from the crazy hotel. This is the analog footage. This is the second to last battery I flew there. Enjoy. See you Wednesday.
Thank you.